Broke a story over the weekend, actually, and another one this morning about the doctors involved in Matthew Perry's death. The two doctors who have been charged by the feds for supplying the ketamine that ended up killing Matthew Perry last year. And I guess the surprising part, we'll start with that, which is that they are still doctors. And who knows when that may change, if it changes. We found that out over the weekend, but the DEA stepped in where the medical board did not and decided to make sure that these two men in particular, Dr. Mark Chavez and Dr. Salvador Plasencia, can no longer write prescriptions. And for one of them, this was part of a plea deal, and that would be Mark Chavez. So he pled guilty to several charges related to the supplying the ketamine, and as part of that, volunteered his registration with the DEA.
Right.
This is something that all doctors have in order to write prescriptions.
Right. Plasencia, for his part, he is indicating that he is going to fight the charges. Now, ultimately, Charles, he is facing 120 years in a federal penitentiary if he was convicted. I don't think either of these guys should obviously be allowed to write prescriptions right now, given what they've been accused of.
Which is why we found out the DEA stepped in and did so, made sure that they did not have that registration. But they are both still doctors.
Yeah, they're both doctors for the time being because the medical board, which is different, that's what grants you your medical license. They have said, taken a wait-and-see approach. They've opened up an investigation. People are innocent until they're proven guilty, and before they're going to take away someone's livelihood, their ability to practice medicine, they're going to do their own investigation before they revoke or suspend those licenses. But the DEA stepped in because there's a public health concern here with distributing ketamine, and they can do that. They have jurisdiction because these drugs cross state lines. There's a federal matter involved, and so they've gone ahead and said no registration, no writing scripts for these two doctors, even on just the allegations.
Yeah, it would be egregious to me if they were able to write prescriptions, even the fact that they can still see patients theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is concerning to people when they hear that they can still see patients and that they are still doctors, the fact that at least the allegations as laid out by the U.S. Attorney last week are so callous. You know, Dr. Plasencia is the one, according to the feds, he's the one who in a text message to Dr. Chavez said, let's see how much this moron will pay, referring to Matthew Perry, how much he will pay for this ketamine.
You take that Hippocratic oath, Charles, and it's like do no harm. That's the most basic fundamental thing for a doctor. And to think of these two guys who understand what ketamine can do to you and understand what addiction looks like and how you have no control oftentimes, and still allegedly chose to take advantage of Matthew Perry for financial gain. It's so gross to me. It bothers me.
Look, it's extremely concerning, obviously, that these guys would practice medicine amidst these allegations, but this is a very high-profile case, so the media has covered them. You've seen their faces out there. It's going to be hard for them to practice as doctors because anyone with Google will see their faces pop up in association with the Matthew Perry case. So some of that takes care of itself, but you're right. While they have their license, if memories fade about this, they could get out there and practice unless those licenses are taken away.
Yeah, I just don't, everyone gets their day in court,
right?
And they'll get their day before the medical board. But for Dr. Chavez, who's pled guilty, I don't know what he says in front of the medical board to say keep my license. I mean, maybe they would suspend it,
right?
But he is likely going to prison for some amount of time, could be up to 10 years under the plea deal that he has struck with the federal authorities. And then, like you said, with Dr. Plasencia, who knows what's going to happen, and if he goes to trial and loses, well, he's going away for a very, very long time.
Hey guys, this is Mindy from Pittsburgh, and I think it's great news that we have two doctors that cannot prescribe medicine anymore. That was the first step. It's really upsetting to know that they can still practice law. When we think about
medicine,
we have teachers and we have police officers that as soon as they get in trouble, they are suspended without pay. Why isn't it the same thing for a doctor who has people's lives at stake? As we can see what happened to Matthew Perry, it could happen again.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting thing and I don't know if the medical board has that as a punishment where you're suspended and you can't see patients, but you still get to hold your license.
Right.
It would seem like that's a step they could take here.
Right.
For sake of the
I
public.
understand presumed innocent. I do think at a certain point the authorities do need to step in if there is a public risk. And I think obviously here, I mean, show me a big alleged public risk.
That's clearly what the DEA saw.
Yeah.
Once
Good on them, Charles.
yeah. So we'll see what happens with the rest of that moving forward.